So I finally get to do what every cop would love the opportunity to do. Question an attorney. Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you are having a fantastic week so far. I am here with my friend Blair, who is an attorney in the area that I work. So I asked you guys a couple days ago if you had some questions, so we are going to take the opportunity. I'm going to read some of the most popular questions that were posted on there, and Blair has actually chosen some of these questions as well that she wanted to answer. So first of all, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I've been looking forward to this. Like I said, Blair's a good friend of mine. Wonderful person, and there are many reasons why I wanted her on the show, and we'll kind of get into that here in a bit. The main thing is, and I'll go ahead and tell you guys, she's very pro law enforcement, and I think there's kind of a stigma that attorneys and cops don't like each other, but we're kind of here to, I guess, break that stereotype a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's kind of true in some cases. There are some cops that hate certain attorneys and vice versa. But overall, I'd say that that's definitely a misconception. There's, I think, especially around here, I feel like we have a good relationship with law enforcement. The vast majority of us do anyways.
So the first thing I want to ask, tell the audience a little bit about your education. Tell them a little bit about what you do, what your specialties are.
So obviously, I'm an attorney. I saw a couple questions on there about how long you have to go to school. It's a long-ass time, undergrad, and then 3 years of law school. But after that, you're kind of on your own. You don't have to do residency and things like that, like doctors and people in medical profession have to do. But yeah, so I used to be a prosecutor, so I have been on both sides, and I saw a question about that. Which is easier, definitely easier to prosecute cases. I say that now because I'm a defense attorney, but I have been on both sides. I think that the majority of my practice is criminal law, but I do have a kind of a unique subset in that I do represent a lot of police officers, both on when they get in trouble, criminal basis, as well as civil issues. I have a case right now where we have a pay dispute that's been going on for 2 years, over 2 years now. And so I handle lots of different things for police officers. But yes, I also represent the people that you put in jail. And so kind of on both sides of that. I do a little bit of family law, the baby mama drama. Hate it. I'd rather spend 4 hours in a jail cell with a armed robber than 5 minutes with a pissed off baby mama. But I do a little bit of that as well. Definitely my favorite is working with police officers and criminal law.
So guys, we're going to go down the list here. I'm going to pick some of the most popular questions that have been upvoted on YouTube. And if you guys haven't seen it already, YouTube incorporated this new status update system where now content creators can post text or image or poll-based status updates. So if you go to my channel and you click on the community tab, you can actually see the most upvoted comments as far as video ideas. So the first question comes from Tim Campalong. How do you feel, or what do you do when you have to represent a horrible person that you know is guilty? I think that's a great question.
It is. It's probably the number one question that I get.
I'm actually curious about this too.
First of all, just because you did it doesn't mean you are guilty. But, well, I saw that on Instagram actually. It really comes down to the fact that everybody deserves a fair shake. Whether you are guilty of something, whether you're innocent of something, whether you did it or not, everybody under our Constitution is guaranteed a fair trial, a fair jury, and everybody deserves a fair shake. And there are people that are charged with crimes that they didn't commit. There is, and there are innocent people that go to jail. And so the Constitution protects innocent people as much as it protects people that are found guilty. But everybody deserves a fair shake, and everybody deserves a fair trial. I can't lie to a jury. I can't lie to a judge. I can't lie in court. So if my client says, yeah, I stole those watches, I'm not going to go in and argue that he didn't steal the watches. But what I can argue is that the state didn't provide enough evidence, or the state hasn't shown beyond a reasonable doubt that my client took those watches. So it's really just kind of about holding the state to their burden.
All right, next question from Daniel. How do I get out of jury duty?
So definitely possible to get out of jury duty. I would first like, as a disclaimer, to say you should never lie to get out of jury duty. You should never lie to anybody in the court system. But I will give some popular reasons that people are often excused from jury duty? Probably if you are the sole caretaker for a young child, the sole caretaker for an elderly person, and so if you're in jury duty, an entire week-long trial or 2-week-long trial, there's nobody to pick the child up from school, there's nobody to make sure that grandpa gets his medicine, and a family unit or one person is solely relying on you. If you have and can show that you have some vacation plan that's been booked for 6 months, you have plane tickets flying out, they're not going to make you cancel your vacation. I don't actually think I've ever seen them require proof, but my point is that I would have it if you use that excuse, just in case.
Yeah, but technically that is innocent until proven guilty, so
yeah,
there's no reason they should have to show something.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I agree. If you just flat can't be fair and you admittedly have a bias, then I don't really want you on my jury. And probably a prosecutor doesn't either if they feel like you're going to lean towards the defense. If you think the crimes charged or the indictment is just particularly heinous and you think he's guilty as he sits right there just for jury selection, yeah, you're not going to go on the jury. Like I said, I probably wouldn't lie about it, but if you have some type of firmly held belief or bias that you believe that you could not be fair, even as the facts are presented and the law is argued, then you will probably not end up on a jury.
The next question from Thomas Connolly. Have you ever lost a case though you really believe your client was actually innocent?
No.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Really? So next question is from Aaron White. If you have to be honest in court, how do you defend a guilty person?
My job is to make a case that the prosecution, whether he did it or not, that the prosecution can't prove that he did it. That's what it's about. It's not about whether they committed these acts or not, but it's about the state having to prove that. Because I don't have a burden when I walk into court. The state has the burden. They have to put up the evidence, and they have to show. I cannot put up one witness in a criminal trial and sit and listen to everything. They have the burden that they have to meet, and it's my job to hold them to that burden.
I personally feel like I could never be a lawyer because it's easy for me to be non-biased as a responding officer. It would not be easy for me to be non-biased representing somebody in court that I knew did it.
It is, and that's a good question, and I don't have to if I don't want to. I have another attorney that I work closely with, and he is such a badass, great criminal attorney. I've learned a lot from him. However, if you walk into his office and you say, yes, I touched this child, or yes, I raped this lady, he's going to send you out.
Next question is from Eli Moore. What is the most interesting thing that has happened in the courtroom?
I don't know. I wish I had like some exciting, fun story.
Like, has any family member like lunged at a defendant before?
No, I've had an old crotchety attorney, in the middle of court.
An old what?
Crotchety.
I thought you said crusty.
Like
an old crusty lawyer.
That would apply too, but we'll get to that later. I was prosecuting a case and he was defending it, and I guess he thought I wasn't giving him ample attention, even though we were in open court. And so he walks up to me in the middle of court going on and says, I'm not going to repeat it because there's some things I don't even say, but something to the effect of, I know you're a woman, but why don't you listen to me for once? And I don't really know this guy from Adam. And
apparently no woman has ever listened to this guy before.
No, ever. And I guess I was no different. I have lots of fun stories of things that have happened in my office, but court's usually pretty chill around here.
Next question is from Private Comrade. Who was the most heinous person you've had to defend, and what were the charges?
There were, I think...
We have another attorney that has snuck into the building, by the way.
We do, and
he's over here in the corner.
We tried the case together, and I think it was maybe an 11, 12 count indictment. It included aggravated sodomy, incest, rape, several counts for things that have allegedly happened on different occasions. But that's probably, from the defense standpoint, that's probably the worst I've had. I don't remember every single one of the charges. Like I said, it was a lengthy indictment.
All right, so next question is from Impulse. Is there a lawful way to drive without a license, i.e. the right to travel? Let's address part one. So basically what Impulse is saying, this is a lot of questions that sovereign citizens ask, and I was actually really excited to get to this question because I kind of wanted to delve into the sovereign citizen movement just slightly. Honestly, you and I could do a whole video on sovereign citizenship. We're going to save that for another day. Maybe that could be another video. Yes, sovereign citizenship.
That sounds good.
People watching this video are going to be like, well, you're a cop. Of course you would say that. However, I have a lawyer with me, so now you guys have heard it from the court itself. Another thing to keep in mind, and consider this as kind of a disclaimer, this falls under the state of Georgia. right? So what applies here might not apply in California. California is a very liberal state. So is there a lawful way to drive without a license or travel in the state of Georgia?
No, Officer 401, there is not. No, you have to have a license. If not, Bama will give you a ticket. And if you show your nipple, and if you cry and he still gives you a ticket, then you can come see me, but you'll probably get a ticket.
So there you have it. You have the official answer. Here's my thing. You have the right to travel anywhere you want to. You can walk wherever you want. The Constitution does not guarantee you a right to be able to operate a motor vehicle under that state's laws without a license. There's a huge difference in the right to travel. The right to travel does not mean the right to drive, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there's nowhere in the Constitution that says you can drive your Kia Sorento from Tennessee to Georgia.
All right, next question comes from Joseph Stalin. Go more in depth into reasonable suspicion and probable cause. This has been a huge debate. You guys are all over YouTube watching officers stop people. What's your probable cause for stopping me? I told you guys in another video, we don't need probable cause to be able to stop a person if we have reasonable suspicion that they have, are, or will be committing a crime.
I think you've done a pretty good job, though. I mean, I would generally agree with. Didn't you talk about it in the video with Bama?
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Most people know probable cause is a little bit of a higher standard. It's based off the reasonable person standard, so the officer must have knowledge of facts or circumstances that a crime has been committed, it's being committed, or is about to be committed, and it's based off facts and circumstances that would lead a reasonable person to believe that a crime is being, or will be committed.
Let me give you guys an example between the difference in ARS and probable cause. So the difference between reasonable suspicion and probable cause, let's say you're a traffic cop. You are sitting at an intersection. You see somebody run a red light or run a stop sign. That is a perfect example of probable cause. However, if you see somebody come up to the light, they make a full stop, but their windows are very dark. You can't see inside their car. You don't know what their tint percentage is on that window. So you decide to pull them over to find out because you know that you suspect that it's darker than the legal limit, but you don't know the exact amount of percentage that their tint is. That is reasonable suspicion. So when an officer pulls you over for window tint, they don't know exactly, what your percentage is. That's why they have the meters that they slide on the windows. So that is an example of ARS. Whereas watching somebody physically run a stop sign or run a stoplight would be probable cause. The officer actually saw a violation happen.
Yeah, that's good.
You like that one?
You don't need me. My window tint is too dark.
Mine is too.
Don't tell Bama.
Mine is 5% tint on top of 10%.
Are you serious?
Yeah. It's like limo. It's less than limo. Next question is from Tommy Kilway. Have body cameras hurt or helped police officers more in court ever since they have been around?
In my experience, they've helped officers. I had a case where an officer was involved in a chase, ended up in the woods. Nobody's around. Nobody knows what happened. There's no witnesses. There's no other officers to testify to what happened. You have a police officer and you have a suspect. The suspect drew a gun on the officer, pointed it directly at him. The officer fired. He pulled his taser first on the guy, and the guy responds to the officer's taser with a gun, points the gun directly at the officer, and the officer fires. And he was cleared the investigation. Everything was fine. He was acted in self-defense, obviously. Nothing came of it. But it is literally because he wore a body cam. You have a suspect that's saying either he didn't have a weapon or he never pointed at the officer. The officer just fired on him out of the blue. And you're in the middle of the woods. So it's literally a he said situation until we download the body cam. We looked at the body cam. We slowed it down. It's plain as day. He's pointing a weapon directly at the officer prior to the officer firing. So that body cam in that one particular case, it essentially saved him from having to go through probably a lot more than he had to go through. Everybody's got their cell phone out anyways. Mm-hmm. You're going to end up on camera. You're going to end up on YouTube. You're going to end up on the news. And so the body camera really gives the officer's perspective of what's seen. And from this one particular client that I'm referring to, the gun was pointed directly at the body cam.
As the future moves on, technology progresses. Let me get your opinion on this as an attorney. So I feel like we've kind of gotten to this point in society where it's like, if the officer involved in this deadly shooting did not have a body cam, then we almost automatically discredit what the officer says. 20 years ago, whatever an officer said was pretty much gold. That's what happened. Those were the facts of the case. But it seems like in modern day times, in this like police resistant age, it's like if the officer didn't have body cam, he must have been doing something wrong. He was doing something sneaky.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's the nature of the media nowadays. And it can be said for a lot of different situations. But, and I would kind of equate it to like a plane crash. I hate flying, by the way. Like I leave claw marks in the seat next to me. The reason I brought up plane crash is because, hundreds of thousands of flights land safely every single week or month. I have no idea what the statistics are, but you only know about one issue or one crash because that's what's publicized. It's the same, in my opinion, it's the same thing with police shootings. There are police
that's a great analogy.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, every day, this is what every day there are police officers that have to draw their gun, that have to take a suspect down, that have to jump on somebody, that have to punch somebody to gain compliance, that have to tase somebody, that have to shoot somebody. It happens every day. The media doesn't pick up stories where some guy points a gun at you and you have to, shoot him to keep from being shot yourself. Nobody's going to talk about that. But what they talk about is the one case where somebody's shot in the back, or the one case where somebody actually, one of the suspect didn't have a weapon. Yeah, I would agree with your assessment of the body cam.
No, that's a great analogy. Honestly, that's the best analogy I think I've ever heard. That was the best way anybody's ever explained it to me. Of numerous incidents, you're only going to hear about the one where the officer did something wrong. Here's the biggest thing, guys, and this is something I try to reiterate to everybody, is that the news makes money off of popularity. Stories where officers do something good, like they dance in a neighborhood playing basketball with kids, that's not going to sell stories. But the story where the officer kicks this guy that's already on the ground, kicks him in the head, which actually recently happened. A bunch of people have been sending me this video. That's going to make money for Fox. That's going to make money for CNN. They're going to use those stories to their advantage, but at the same time, that creates a negative aura around law enforcement. I've had numerous people comment on these videos that, well, you're a cop, you're going to take their side. When I created the video about Daniel Shaver and the shooting, the guy that was crawling in the hotel room, I got so much negative feedback from that video just because I was explaining why the officers might have shot him. I clearly stated in that video that I did not support his decision, but I got so many comments. And this is why I was so excited about filming with Blair, is now I have an attorney's point of view that has nothing to gain by being on the side of law enforcement. She has nothing to lose by being on the side of law enforcement. So to hear her say that it's unfortunate, that officers are being condemned just because there's no video, that's awesome to hear.
I've seen it, and yes, I'm a defense attorney, but I've seen other defense attorneys that really hammer in on, well, you didn't have any footage, or you didn't even have your body cam on. Why would we believe you? Well, we would believe you because you were on stand and you took an oath to tell the truth, and you took an oath to uphold your duties, and that was sufficient for years and years until now. So
yeah,
and there are
absolutely.
some instances where, yeah, there probably should have been a body cam turned on, or there's some, some a little bit of squirrely circumstances, but overall, you're supposed to get up on stand and tell the truth, and then a jury or a judge should take you at your word.
Are there officers that lie in court? Yes. I have lost cases in court because I refuse to lie in court, and the majority of officers are like that. We're not going to make stuff up on the stand just because we think it might have happened. That is why police reports are so crucial. Yes, it sucks sitting down at a computer for 3 hours at the end of your shift and typing out all your reports. But 3 years down the line, when you go to court for that case, this is the reason why it's so important to be so thorough in your investigations, or at least in your preliminary investigations, so you don't have to come across this point where, well, I don't remember. Should I Should I say this might have happened? Should I not? You don't want to lie in court. Don't ever lie in court. I would much rather lose my case against a defendant instead of creating information that's not there and get charged with perjury. That's not a route that you want to go, especially as a new officer. And that's one of the good things about being a veteran officer is most of the judges get to know you over time, so they know that your testimony is going to be true or you're full of shit. A lot of times that's determined, like new officers that have only been there for a year or two.
Yes.
Attorneys will catch you up in a lie very quickly.
And I don't think I'm going to interrupt you because
No,
I don't
no,
think
go ahead.
it's because. I don't think police officers get up on stand with some nefarious motive of like, I want to send this guy to prison, I'm going to lie, I'm going to do whatever it takes to send him to prison. That's not the case. But what happens is that especially with young officers, I find that they're kind of unsure maybe on what their role is, and that your job as a police officer is not to win the prosecution's case. That is for the DA to do. Your job is not to bolster their case. Your job is not to get a conviction. Your job as a police officer is to find the facts. You find the facts. Once you go into court as a witness, your job is to tell the truth. You are supposed to be an unbiased witness. And I think around here, the majority of the officers, as a defense attorney, I can call them up and say, hey, tell me about this guy, what happened when you got out with him, and everybody is more than willing to talk to me. There are some officers, though, that I feel like haven't come to the understanding that they are an unbiased witness. And so if the DA picks up the phone, hey, can you come meet with us on this case? They're there in a second. Mm-hmm. But if a defense attorney comes up, I'm not going to the PD's office. I'm not going to meet with a defense attorney.
Right there, you're showing bias.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you're supposed to be an unbiased witness, and you're supposed to find the facts.
Next question comes from Ghost Marine 10. He says, what relationship do you guys have with judges? Specifically judges who like the officer involved. Officers that have relationships with judges, know them on a first name basis, especially detectives, guys. I can tell you for a fact, detectives have a very close, almost personal relationship with the judges because
you're at their house at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
right?
we have to knock on their door at 3 a.m. to get search warrants signed and stuff like that. So does a relationship with a judge tend to affect the outcome of a verdict in trial?
And I don't think, and maybe I just haven't been around long enough. I don't go hunting with the judges, and we don't have tea together. But I like to think I have a good relationship with the judges because I do what I'm supposed to do in court. I'm on time.
Especially in a small town. Let's also talk about the population of the town too. Because if you work in a major metropolitan area, let's say Atlanta, or you work in New York City, the chances of your everyday beat officer knowing the judge on a personal level are very slim to none. But when you live in a mediocre size to small size town, chances are the officers do know the judges. I wouldn't say they necessarily golf with them. I'm sure there probably are some counties where, you have one judge and 3 officers. So I'm sure they probably do stuff together. So that's a really good question.
I think it kind of goes back to also what we talked about a minute ago with how you present in court. If you are honest and does that make sense?
Yeah,
what we were talking
absolutely.
about as far as like not being caught in a lie on stand and being forthcoming. I have a story about the pot brownies. I have pot brownies story. I have a story about the guy with the meth, coffee and the meth. I mean, shit. He puts methamphetamine in his coffee every morning because that's what helps him lose weight. But the cocaine was the business.
That is it for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Blair, thank you so much. I'm so appreciative of her. She is awesome. We are planning on doing a part 2 and perhaps even a part 3, part 4, part whatever. I would love to have Blair on the show again. We're actually going to have Bama on the show again here soon. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comment section below and we will answer them perhaps in part 2 or 3. But stand by. Like I said, I'm going to put another status update on the community page so you guys can check that and you can answer those. I tend to incorporate the most upvoted questions that are on there. But if nothing else, like I said, either through the comments or through the polls, we will include those in the upcoming videos. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it so much. Blair, again, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.
Stay tuned for pot brownies, meth coffee.
Meth coffee and pot brownies.
What to do when Bama stops you for a DUI.
They're going to be really excited to see part 2. So anyway, stay tuned for part 2, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys very, very soon.